And then I said, stop, or my mom will shoot. It was hilarious. Yes! What the hell, man? Okay people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today let's take a look at the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Rise of Skywalker Wave 2. Now as most of you know by now, I was in Kansas City over the weekend. I did a lot of toy hunting with Veebs, and between several vintage stocks and a couple of GameStops, we were able to piece together this whole collection. Now, even though GameStop is only getting the Yavin Ceremony Luke. He's 2 per case, so you'll probably see him more often, but the figure we had the most trouble with was Cara Dune. These 3 were at vintage stock in Kansas City, and then this one I stopped at the big-ass Joplin vintage stock. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about, and she was the only one besides Luke on the shelf. And then the rest of the case is another Luke, and then Rey and Sith Trooper from Wave 1. But looking at the packages, it's what we've been seeing for years now. Solid black, red background, pretty pictures down here in the corners. They are 98 through 101. On the back, we get the pretty shots again with a bio for each character. On the other side, the standard name of the character, and then the name of the character in a bigger font. Cara Dune, Wedge Antilles, Luke Squaw, Jet Troop, and then Jannah. Speaking of Luke though, they did spell his name right here. If you look at the front of the package, it's Luke Skywalker, and then on the back it's Luke Squawker. But then they get it correct down here in the bios in each language. I don't know, I kind of like Luke Squawker. Top, pitch black like my wallet after this weekend. On the bottom, legalese, UPCs. I'm gonna get these open and see what's going on here. And let's start with Wedge. And yep, that's pretty much what I expected. It's Wedge in his X-Wing pilot gear. Before even getting into it though, if yours has the CE right here on the front of the boot, your boot's backwards. In fact, both of these boots are backwards. There's a gap right here and the boot seems loose. But if you spin this around and then bring the ankle forward, flip the foot, and then come back. Gap is on the inside, but the boot is actually tighter. Same thing for the other side. You rotate it around, you come back, rotate the foot, bring it forward, and then you have the kick back for the ankle, and this is straight back. Just an easily fixed manufacturing mishap there. But that all may seem familiar because this is complete reuse of the X-Wing Luke. And I thought the same thing whenever I realized this looking at promotional pics. Man, Wedge is going to be small. And then I actually looked up the stats. Dennis Lawson is actually an inch shorter than Mark Hamill. What? Why was I not informed of that? I guess because we see Wedge sitting most of the time. But we already knew that the X-Wing Luke had an excellent sculpt for the X-Wing pilot gear, and same thing here. You have the wrap around the boot, you have these straps coming down that don't really get in the way unless you just go crazy with them. It is a shame that the forearm is cast in black with the orange paint over it because you can kind of see it bleeding through, especially over here around this pocket. But at the same time, it has kind of a dirtiness to the rest of it, so it kind of blends in because of that. Excellent paint apps on the chest box. I love this thing for some reason. I don't know why. It makes it asymmetrical, and I love stuff like that. But here's what makes Wedge Wedge. I can't speak too much to the likeness, but it seems really, really nice because most of the time we see him like this, but we'll get to that. And they did a good job with the photo reel. The eyes are fairly straight. There is the usual shininess to it, but at this point, I'm used to just hitting heads with dull coat and going on. Quick glancing at, you can't get much more mid to late 70s than this head. Articulation, there is a hinge with a ball at the top of the neck, can look up, can bury the chin, tiny bit of tilt. Swivel, hinge and swivel at the shoulder comes up past 90, rotates all the way around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow comes just barely past 90, swivels. Hinge up and down because of trigger finger, perfect, and then rotates. Ball at the mid-torso comes forward a little bit, back, then tilt side to side. In fact, it's a ball joint. It goes around. Ball coming out to the hip. If you raise these up just a little bit, you can come all the way to 90. Good back. Same thing, the strap may get in the way a little bit, but raising it up doesn't really help. It only comes out to about right there. Thigh swivel. Double knee. No, not quite, but still past 90. Rotation at the boot. Ankle hinges back, forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Wedge comes with what I think of as the standard Rebel blaster. Nice sculpt, silver on the end. It's pretty basic. Pop it in his hand, turn, trigger finger. I said trigger finger. There we go. Pew pew. But then he comes with his helmet. It's Luke's with a new paint job. This is actually a green. It may show up a little dark right here, and it may be a little bit dark, but it's definitely green. All the basics of Wedge's helmet is here. It may be a little bit crooked. You can see this yellow line just kind of drifting off to the side. And also this black line kind of misses the sculpt. But if there was any question of Wedge's likeness, this puts all that to rest because, oh, whoa, there's Wedge. And that looks good. It may seem big, but that's how it's actually worn. Robo 5 standing by. Height-wise, he stands at about 5.5 inches, which may be a little bit short, but still works relative scale. Because here he is with the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Luke that he shares a body with, and then the Figuarts Luke. Here he is with a custom head Wedge that I got sent a while back, and he looks a little bit short here, but again, I'm not used to thinking of Wedge as short in the first place, so it's kind of screwing with me. All right, let's take a look at the First Order Jet Trooper. And I may be wrong here, I often am, but I think this is a lot of new sculpt. In fact, I can't seem to find any kind of reuse between this and other various First Order troopers. Now, I'm a fan of troopers in general. They're cool. I like the aesthetic. It's just nothing will beat the original trilogy Stormtrooper for me. This comes close. I like it, but man, looking at it, I just think, oh, well, yep, they're trying. They're cool to army build though, and it's neat to see a bunch of them together, but man, maybe I'm an old fart. Never gonna replace me. But I will admit, all the beats are there. The black undersuit, the white armor on top. I'm digging the jet thing on the back. It's kind of a callback to, well, both the video games and then Jango and Boba. You have the exhaust of the jets sculpted down here on the bottom. Seems like if it shot down right there, though. Is that what this is for? Is this to deflect some of the blast, maybe? Oh, in fact, it kind of seems like an intake right there. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the mechanics of how this actually works in the real world, you know, with a sci-fi stormtrooper character. The armor plates are nicely integrated all together. When I got down here, I thought, oh man, that's going to get in the way of articulation. And it kind of does forward because of the thinness of the foot. It kind of flexes back as you go back, and then it doesn't get in the way of rocker at all. So it's nice and not seamless. I say that a lot, but you could see the articulation, but it's fit together well. And then the jetpack actually comes up over the shoulders to this front piece of armor, and it kind of works as a separate piece altogether. So when you're articulating the very nice torso ball, it doesn't get in the way. The same can't be said about the shoulder pads though. They are rubbery, they are a separate piece, and most of the time they would only attach it down here at the bottom so it'd flex up and over, but it goes into the socket and just kind of gets in the way right there. But coming back around, they have a ball at the bottom of the neck and the top, and for a helmeted character, they did a nice job with the articulation here. Not a lot of paint to speak of, but there is this tampo on the front, and then this one on the back. Oops, actually that's sculpted on there. But I can't help thinking there's a logo. He sold advertising space on his chest. Boeefy, making a better tomorrow. Today. And then the helmet itself, it's very First Order. We see some of these design elements in earlier troopers like the Flame or the Snow. But this right here, I can't help but think that's like mandibles or Predator or something. It's got a stray piece of plastic right there too. Easy enough to fix. And then there's these vents right here. In fact, there's some detail work around the helmet that's kind of lost in the whiteness of it. I can't help but think there should be some more paint here, even though I haven't actually done any research to see if there should be. But that's the way I feel. Going over articulation, like I said, ball at the top, ball at the bottom of the neck gives you good range all the way around. Tip, 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 tip. Hinge swivel at the shoulder, hindered by the shoulder pad, does go all the way around. They seem to be trying a little harder with the armored type characters at the elbow. Single hinge, but it does come past 90. Swivels, hinge up and down at the wrist because of trigger finger, and then swivel. Like I mentioned, ball joint at the torso, he can get all the way around, but then we get to the hips. Ball coming out to there, but because of the armor itself, if you keep the leg straight, it comes up to a right there, but if you rotate, you can get more. Then it kind of turns out, which is okay, but good back though. How's that work? And not bad out. Swivel hidden by the armor, which is always nice. Double knee, it just gets in the way of itself. Where's it? Oh, bing! But that is really forcing it from about right there. Hinge at the ankle goes back, forward, meh, and then forward-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, he comes with this nifty triple-barreled blaster thing. The scope's a little bit bent from the packaging. But like most of the First Order stuff, I like that they integrated white into the blaster. Too much, maybe, but at the same time, it's okay. Seems like this handle should flip down, though. There's this slot on the leg that looks like it should holster something, but there's actually no peg on here that I can find. But he grips it really well. it's probably gonna live the rest of its life in this hand. It took me this long into the review to realize this is the same sculpt as the Walmart exclusive carbonized version that came out Force Friday last month. I haven't ever opened it. Look at the sparkles on that. The Jet Trooper stands at about 6 1/8 inches tall. Here it is with the First Order Snow Trooper and Flame Trooper. And then here it is with the Hasbro Kylo Ren and First Order Stormtrooper from the Wave 1 that came out last month. And then let's take a look at Jannah. And Jannah is a character I don't know yet, so all I can go on right now is the look and the aesthetic. And based on that, I like the figure. It has kind of a Solo Rogue One feel to it, which I'm completely good with. There's a roughness all around, a dirtiness, but at the same time, there's some tech, there's some armor. The shorts with the sandals look is kind of, I don't know, it says on the back that it's an oceanic moon, so maybe she's dressed appropriately for the beach. The texture to the straps coming down and around is nice. The shirt looks torn at the sleeves, and especially here at the bottom. The strap is actually a separate piece from the torso. It works in its favor right here, though, to kind of hide the articulation point. And then here, it kind of looks like a salvaged armor plate. Same thing up here on her forehead. And speaking of her head, oh man, this looks really, really good. I dig how the hair comes out and how it's sculpted, the shape and everything. Looking at reference pictures, it seems a little bit more wild in the movie, but this being plastic, this being an action figure, and probably working off preliminary shots and concept art, it was probably accurate at some point, but this is still pretty close. The photo reel, again, the shininess to the face, but the actual detail of the eyes, the eyebrows, the lips, all there. It looks fantastic. Well, hell, the belt is a separate piece too. I tried to pry this off to see if it was a separate thing, and the whole belt started coming up. It is glued in place though, so it's not just sliding around. The cape is just a chunk of plastic hanging off her neck. It's a little bit stiff because of the thickness in places. It is translucent though. It moves around, but it doesn't look right in any place but hanging straight down. And with the way they're doing the necks now, you can't just pop the head off and take the cape off. So it's there unless you go cutting. Articulation, it looks like there is a dumbbell up there. Not a lot of up because of the hair. Down a little bit. Tilt, swivel. Arm is hinge and swivel, comes up to 90. Rotates around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow does come a little past 90. And that rotates. Trigger finger means up and down hinge along with rotation. Ball joint at the torso, it feels like if you get too far back, you hit a flat spot right there. It's a little bit hard to bring back forward, but at the same time, good range. Ball coming out to the hip, comes up to 90. Back, not bad at all. Out, to be expected. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee, boop. Easily kicks her own ass. Hinge at the ankle, goes all the way back. Pretty good forward. And then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, she has this kind of pirate looking gun. It looks like a tusk or a horn coming down for the handle. Comes out to metal on the barrel. Silver for that, just to differentiate it a little bit. And that design being like that, it is super easy to get into her hand. Oh, that looks good. She also has a holster, but that is tight as hell to get that in there. But once it's in, like it was made for it. Because it was made for it. I don't know how to start this because these all go together. Let's start with this bundle of arrows. It's 3 arrows all sculpted together. You can see the shafts, the ends, the heads kind of run together in one big plastic blob. But that's okay because she also comes with a single arrow. No paint to it, just casting gray. And those go into this quiver. Follows the same design aesthetic. It has cord running all over it and then the center. Arrows fit down inside of that easy enough. But my problem is actually putting it on her. What you have to do is unpeg the strap. And then I don't know where to put this because I can't find any reference shots of her actually wearing it. What I did, put it here, put the strap around, peg it back in. It's not bad. It's not too intrusive. I don't like it sitting up on top of the hood like that. But this may be completely wrong, and it probably is. But it's functional, so I don't know. Because she also comes with this bow. It's very weird looking with the split down the middle right here. It comes up here to some metal pieces on the end. And then again, a strap if you want to sling it around her shoulder. It has no string, but it does have holes in case you want to add your own. This strap doesn't come, oh, well, never mind. It does come off if you pull hard enough. But if you don't want to pull it loose, it does fit over her hair. Again, the cape kind of gets in the way. You may have noticed her thumb is kind of weird. She grips it with her left hand, right-handed style, even though I've seen pictures of her shooting left-handed. But that thumb, you rotate it in, and then the thumb goes up inside to kind of make it a little bit more sturdy there. And she holds the bow fairly well. This tube right here, you can load the single arrow in. It's a little bit tight until you get right there, and then boom. And because of her trigger finger, that actually looks pretty decent. Jannah stands at about 5 7/8. And here she is with the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series Kylo Ren and Rey from Rise of Skywalker Series 1. Good size here, she matches up really well with Rey. Oh, and here comes Luke Skywalker. I've been looking forward to this Luke for a little bit, not only because it's ceremony Luke from the end of A New Hope, but it's also Marvel Luke. He ran around like this in the comics quite a bit. I always thought of this Luke as, hey, I'm gonna raid Han's closet, see what happens. It's just a good look. He graduated from farm boy into an X-Wing pilot costume into more normal wear for the rest of the galaxy. Hasbro did a good job with the wrinkles, making it look like an actual jacket. These lumps and humps coming down the arm right there. Underneath, it's your standard Star Wars shirt with the flap down. A little bit of foreshadowing to Return of the Jedi, I guess. Have the gunslinger belt with the holster coming down, strapped around his leg. That is pegged in and glued down. Again, basic pants. You have the stripes running down the side. Nice wrinkles around the knees. The boots are a little bit rough. Very cowboyish. Very leather looking. I've never noticed that before. Makes me like them even more now, though. And then, as always, up at the head, it's better looking in person. If you're looking at pictures and it's a little bit off, or the original promo shots and thought, is that even Luke Skywalker? Getting it in person will change your perspective. Again, shiny, but the eyes look really good. He's kind of doe-eyed, but this is a farm boy that just stepped into a bigger universe. Nice wash to the hair, kind of dirty it up. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this look. I'm seeing this quite a bit with the new figures, like Rey. I can't get the arm to go all the way down. There's always a boop pop out a little bit. I don't know if it's the detents messing with me. That one's a little bit better. Or he's angled that way. There we go. No, it's both sides. You can turn the elbow a little bit, angle that in, but I don't know. It seems like he's never quite relaxed. You're too high strung, Luke. Have the new dumbbell joint up at the top of the neck going up into the head. Looks up, looks down, but can't quite bury the chin. But it can tilt, and that's what matters. Also some swivel. Also seems to be a ball joint at the bottom of the neck a little bit. Not so much side to side, but there's definitely some forward. Look for any hidden butterfly joint. Nope. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder, comes up past 90, rotates around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, but it feels like, oh, nope, there we go. Swivels. Trigger finger, so you have up and down hinge, but because of the sleeve, kind of gets in the way. A little bit of movement up and down. Swivel. Ball joint mid-torso. Fair amount of range. Ball coming out to the hip. The holster kind of gets in the way right here. Kind of pushes out. But if it wasn't for the holster... Wait, what the hell's going on here? Oh, man. The peg is pinned at 45 degrees. But it doesn't seem as bad as like Obi-Wan. Back, not so much. Out. Not bad, actually. Rotation at the thigh. Double knee. Let's see what happens here. Oh, easily. Boop, 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 boop. Kicks his own ass. Hinge at the ankle goes way back. Way forward. Whoa, that is amazing. And then forward-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Luke comes with, is this Leia's pistol? I don't think I have hers anywhere. It kind of looks like it, though, and I don't remember him having this during the ceremony, but I wasn't really paying attention what was on his hip. That fits in there pretty nicely. And then he comes with the metal. Even though there's texture right there, that is not cloth. That's plastic. A little bit of sculpt down here on the metal part, and then, of course, there's gold and kind of greenish. Is that a green? That slips right over, and it makes me think, oh, are we going to get a ceremonial Han at some point? Or am I going to have to buy another Luke to get a medal for Han? And then a third one for this guy. The metal does sit around his neck very nicely, though. Luke stands at about 5 11/16, which is just about perfect for his 5'9" height. And that works pretty good with both the Black Series Luke and then the Figure Arts Luke. And then the same for the Black Series Han and Leia. This still blows my mind that this is fairly correct. It's crazy. And then finally, there is Cara Dune from The Mandalorian. I was actually looking at this when we picked up VBs, and I thought, I wonder what that is. I hadn't looked at the pop or any pictures from the show or anything. The more we got looking, you can see it there, and then you can definitely see it there. It's a little rebel symbol. And if you zoom in on the actual figure, it's printed on with the photo reel. And it may be my Mandalorian hype or something else, but man, this may just be my favorite character of the wave. It is just so well done, so well sculpted, nice paint apps, and I feel like the shape and proportions are nailed here. I know it's the design of the show, but I like the texture being right here, but then not so much here. It's a nice contrast between the sleeveless arms, down to armor bits, down to straps, down to armor plates, the asymmetry of one knee pad. She has these canisters strapped to her leg for whatever reason. A little bit of fade from the foot up the boot, like it's going lighter to dark, and at first I thought, oh, it's dusty, it's dirty, but that's more of a actual fade and not a dirt look to it. But there is some wear and tear on the various plates with some silver. Also up here on the shoulder pads, the chest armor, the armor on the forearms, but that also ties into the silver of the actual pieces here on the belt, the buckles on the chest piece. There's more back here on the belt. And that contrast also fits here. There's a nice little texture to this but then there's just pants under it. A little bit of wrinkle work. It just works overall. This is how I dress. Deal with it. Tattoo around the bicep is just straight lines. Rebel symbol up here on the cheek. The likeness here is very good. The photo reel is nice to the eyes. Her hair sculpt, it's long and messy on this side, but then you get on the other side, it's braided going under there. It's cut short right here. I cannot wait to see this character in action. The shoulder pads are a rubber piece, but they're glued all the way up and around. It doesn't quite get in the way here. You can see it flex up with the arm, but it is going to get in the way trying to come up and around. You got to kind of kick out. But her belt is a completely separate piece that you can bring up and around, get out of the way of the hips if you want, or bring down where it's slung low. That also means, unlike Luke, the holster is not pegged to the leg, so it doesn't get in the way there. The design here also works perfectly for a toy because it gets out of the way of the joints. But that's not quite true with the collar piece. Like the shoulder pads, it kind of gets in the way, and that doesn't help that her hair is coming down on this side. It's a nice design, but it's going to get in the way. There's your dumbbell joint up there at the top of the neck going into the head. There's also a ball joint at the bottom of the neck. Up, not so much. The collar piece is coming around. Not bad down though. Very nice tilt. Swivel. Hinge and swivel at the shoulder comes up. Like I talked about, not quite around, but you can come out and does go around. Hinge at the wrist comes up past 90. Swivels. It's pretty much this whole wave that has up and down hinge and then swivel. Again, ball joint. Ball coming out to the hip comes up almost 90. Back, out, not bad. Swivel at the thigh. The swivel does break that design though when you turn it, but what you gonna do? Double knee, let's see what this does. Again, oh man, they're nailing it. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward, and then forward facing pin for rocker. Accessories, she comes with a knife. It's small. It has a little bit of detail right there. See that button? A little bit of texture to the handle. It's pretty basic. It does fit nicely in the hand. It's tight. It's not going to come out. But if you don't want her holding it, I had to look for a while, and there is a slot right there on her boot. So you can slip that down in there. It doesn't go all the way, or it doesn't seem to want to go all the way, but that's a nice holding spot. She also comes with a smaller pistol. Is this a noisy cricket? It's got a little barrel, little trigger guard, little scope. Hand is soft enough you can flex it out a little bit, get it in her grip. Or it goes in the holster. The scope right there likes to run into it. At first I was trying to put it in there and it wasn't going at all. Scope goes on the outside like that. Straps back down. And then she comes with the big honkin' blaster. It has dual drums on both sides. It has a carry handle up here on the top. Nice fade from silver into the gray of the gun itself. A little bit of brown for the stock and then the grip. A little bit of flex to the strap, and it also comes off if you want to. That's just a clamp down here on the end, and then it unpegs from there. A little bit tough with the single elbows, but she can hold the gun. A little bit harder to get up on her shoulder. I think it can be done, but man, shoulder pads in the way, keeps coming out of her hands. The elbows is the biggie. But she can also hold it by the handle or strap it over her shoulder, which I'm sure there's multiple ways to do this. That's kind of better looking than this, but that works. Height-wise, she stands at 5 and 11/16. Here she is with the off-world Jawa and the Mandalorian himself. Man, this show's gonna be badass. And then just for giggles, here she is with a Colossus and a Deadpool. She does work pretty good with the Figma Deadpool though, which I actually display this on my Star Wars shelf. So at the end of the day, another very interesting wave that has a little of something for everyone. You're looking forward to Rise of Skywalker, you have the Trooper and Jannah. You're looking for a little original trilogy, you have Luke Skywalker and Wedge. And to continue the Mandalorian hype, you have Cara Dune. Wedge is a great get for the shelf. It's still blowing my mind that that body works for him though. Cara Dune, it seems like a badass. Her on the shelf is imposing. It's kind of intimidating. I'm hoping for more figures from that show. I need to open my IG-11, I guess. The First Order Jet Trooper, I may have bought too many First Order Troopers during The Force Awakens, and I may have experienced a little burnout, but it's basically a Stormtrooper. I am good with that. Jannah, I'm not as familiar with. In fact, seeing this figure was my first look at the character. I like the design. Again, it calls back to Rogue One, to Solo, to the original trilogy. So it's very cool. And then, of course, a Luke Skywalker. I'm never going to turn down a Luke Skywalker. I have the fan channel Marvel version coming to stand in as a Marvel Comics version of Luke. So this one will keep the metal around his neck. He'll stay in this position, and we'll see what the other one has to offer. So good wave overall. Very little reuse, but which we're used to with the Star Wars line. But it adds to various displays, and that's my favorite thing. I have one over here, one over there, down, up, yeah. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. I'll catch you on the Fwoosh.